Hello, everyone. I'm Brady Briggs. Joining me is Justus St. Pierre.
Yeah, just like George per se, the same way. St. Pierre. Yeah.
Nice to meet you, man. It's nice to have you on.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
First, we're going to be talking about PFL that happened last night. Why don't we start out with the main event, Claressa Shields? What do you think of that?
I mean, we had kind of recapped on it on a chat earlier, and like you made a great point. For 7 months of training, going against a brown belt and BJJ, I'd give her, I guess, out of 10, like a solid 6 out of 10. I knew as long as it stood on the feet, her opponent really didn't stand much of a chance just because it's Claressa Shields. Yeah. There was definitely a lot of improvement, obviously, that needed to be done on the ground. But, it's MMA. It's super different. You have all those grappling aspects with clinch, groundwork, whatever it may be. And she did good. She did, she won the bout, and that's really what matters and counts. And I can't wait to see her fight again for sure.
Yeah, as the commentators were saying, she's already doing better than James Toney like 2 minutes into the fight. Like, her defense was actually very good. And for being mounted for like 8 or 9 minutes out of those first 2 rounds, not to be submitted by a brown belt, it's incredibly impressive. And then, like, to stuff her takedowns, like, she stuffed her takedown in the second round. She did such a great job, but then she re-engaged with the grappling. I thought that would be the end of it. But, dude, that third round comeback is as legendary as it gets. And yeah, her boxing is so accurate, dude. With these 4-ounce gloves, I did not expect her to be that accurate. She was piecing her up. She was hurting her like every time she hurt her or hit her. Right?
No, absolutely. I think I think last night, I don't know if it'd be per se a debut for a record, but she only missed 6 total strikes out of everything she threw last night. So extremely accurate. That's for sure.
Insane.
And too. No, absolutely. And I think really, Claressa's way to success in MMA isn't going to be really focusing on what to do necessarily while on the ground. I mean, of course, that's going to be key for like the basics, but I think it's just going to be more important to just make sure the fight stands up. As long as she can do that, it's going to be her world all day, every day.
It was very surprising. I couldn't believe she got the finish on the ground, dude. I really could. Like, she actually has a lot of power, only cranking from like
extremely explosive.
Crazy, man. She's such a great athlete. I'm so excited. Like, she has so much potential in the sport. Not only was Elkin a brown belt, but she's 3-6, and that's not a good record. That's 9 fights that she had to prepare for grappling. And
absolutely. And I mean, it's still MMA experience. I mean, a lot of people say they learn more from a loss in general. So if anything, she's learned a lot.
Exactly. Making a debut against someone with 9 fights, walking into their 10th, that's not an easy task. She did great.
No, absolutely.
I guess the next one we were going to talk about is Tyler Diamond and Brennan Loughnane.
No, yeah, that fight was crazy.
This fight, it was insane. Like, the first round could have went either way. I scored for Diamond just barely. I could see it going for Loughnane. And one of the judges saw it that way. One of them saw it for Loughnane. And then the second round could have easily been a 10-8, if not maybe even 10-7. Diamond almost got finished like literally 10 times in that round. Like, literally. And he hurt Loughnane with an up kick when he was on his back. And then he gets up and gets right in his face while he's still wobbly and still throwing punches. Like, he's as much of a zombie as anybody I've ever seen. And
no, absolutely.
His last fight too. He won his last fight by that.
No, yeah, Tyler. I've been I won't say a huge fan, but I've definitely been a follower of him since the Tough 27 season.
Yeah, sure, me too.
This whole bunch of legendary people came from that season, like Katona, Trizano, Joe Giannetti, which we haven't heard much from.
Yeah, dude,
of course, Luis Pena.
I was so upset when the UFC let him go. Like, they should have paid him a little more.
I just think that really nothing really occurred with him, and he was such a likable character.
Yeah,
and he really wasn't bad. He was super young. That whole cast really was very young. They gave Katona a shot, but I think he was actually just released maybe about a year ago or so now.
Yeah. After he lost to Merab Dvalishvili, I think they cut him.
Yeah, but I mean, we still got Luis Pena, of course. Bryce Mitchell has been absolutely amazing. Mitchell,
I forgot about him. Yeah, that kid is so talented. I love him. He's as good of an MMA grappler as there is. Like,
no, yeah, his twister submissions and everything is really cool to watch for sure. It's entertaining, especially.
Yeah, his jiu-jitsu and his wrestling, he does such a beautiful job of blending it so perfectly. And no one can stop it, dude. No one can stop. He's still undefeated. And by the way, that's Tyler Diamond's only other loss. Now he is 12-2. His only 2 losses.
Actually, yeah.
His only
That's a good point.
Yeah, his only 2 losses are majority decisions. Because he just lost a majority decision last night.
That's right. I was about to say, yeah. And I was to say, Tyler Diamond hasn't lost much. The only thing, I guess, like, Tyler really, I guess, for an improvement that I would, for an opinion, I guess, would be just to really work on that striking.
Mm-hmm.
He was ducking down while trying to, like, per se, throw the overhand. And, I mean, it just makes you really susceptible to uppercuts. And, of course, just overall getting hit in general.
Yeah.
You should always be looking at who you're trying to hit.
Yeah, he was definitely lunging in a lot with his boxing last night. And he was coming close to hitting Loughnane. Like, I'd say, like, the first half of the round, he threw a lot of punches, but he didn't land a single one. That leads me to think he doesn't want to get hit. But then after watching the rest of the fight, clearly he don't care if he gets hit.
No, absolutely. I mean, like, if he doesn't like it, he can at the very least, take it. He can definitely take a shot.
Crazy how tough he is. It's so crazy. Any of y'all haven't seen that fight, go back and watch it.
It's a good one for sure. I love the PFL in general. It's a really nice, different organization, and I just kind of like how they set up things from the judging system to the way they set up their tournaments and everything with the point system.
Yeah, it's very different. I like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's all tournaments, man. Bellator does those kind of. I kind of wish the UFC would do that. I think that would solve a lot of the matchmaking issues. But
absolutely,
at least a couple other organizations do it. One and Ryzen also have different scoring. I don't favor theirs as much, but it is what it is.
Oh, absolutely. I think after watching PFL, it's getting up there in my favorite.
Oh yeah, dude, it's on ESPN now. It's awesome. I love it. Like, it's getting attention. Like, these guys are good fighters. They deserve to have their names mentioned. They deserve to be seen.
Oh, absolutely.
Get into UFC tomorrow?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's going to be an exciting whole entire card, really. I mean, we got, of course, Vettori and Adesanya.
Yeah, we got that rematch. Let's break that one down.
I've been so torn with it just because whenever I watch Adesanya fight, I mean, it's world-class kickboxing in there. But I guess there's one thing I've always critiqued is he always leans his head back usually.
Mm-hmm.
When people start to pressure him, and either if Vettori can just keep the pressure instead of, per se letting off of it, he could definitely connect. But more importantly, it leaves your body susceptible to body shots, especially kicks. And if Vettori can just utilize body kicks and really help cut off the cage when Adesanya tries to evade, it could be a pretty dominant fight. But, if Paulo did that, if Robert did that, right. It's easier said than done. And I think he's already beaten, per se, more accoladed fighters. But Vettori is he's got a chip on his shoulder, per se. He really wants to be that first Italian UFC champ. And he feels like he won that fight in the first go around.
Yep. He still feels like that. It's kind of surprising, but he's a straight up meathead, dude. Like, what can you say about Marvin? Like, that's who he is. But, like,
no, absolutely.
I think that first fight was clearly 29-28. And of course, Chris Lee is the one that scored it for him. Of course. Like,
he's never been a good judge.
No, dude.
Ever.
At this time last year, I fucking read an article, bro. And there was like 12 disputed split decisions around this time last year. 10 of them, he was the deciding judge. It was insane. It's ridiculous. Like, why do they keep commissioning him?
And that's people's careers and lives.
Exactly, dude. Like, it's so messed up. Like, that happens to people. They could lose a shitty decision when they could have gotten a title shot after that. And then it's not the same anymore. They're not the same. Like, they put all their work into that and they didn't get what they wanted out of it. So it just fucks with their mentality. It doesn't do that with everybody. Like, Dustin Poirier isn't like that. Michael Bisping wasn't like that. Whitaker isn't like that. But most people are.
No, absolutely.
I think Israel, he probably wins this fight a little easier than he did the first one. Marvin does have very good wrestling, especially for a European. But, I mean, Israel won the first fight when he was very inexperienced. And he still got up off the ground. He got up when Marvin took him down in the first fight. So I believe that could happen in this one. We got another rematch in the co-main. Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno after this fight of the year candidate last year. What do you think of this one?
I just think Davison is really, really big for the division as far as that weight and everything. But he makes that weight and he does it professionally. I just think I really think he's just gonna get it done through just being the much bigger guy. Moreno is super tough.
Yeah, he is typical Mexican.
Yeah, he will go down every time per se, like fighting every time. He never gives up or looks for a way out.
Nope. Never been finished.
As long as the weight cut's been good and Davison is healthy as usual, then I'd go for like a solid second round TKO. He'll never finish Moreno per se with like a flat KO, but
yeah.
He could definitely stun him enough. He hits extremely hard for that division.
And he hits so hard. He cuts so much weight, man. Like there's a reason for it. But he would have won the first fight if he didn't kick Moreno in the balls as hard as he did in the fourth round, I think it was, or third maybe.
I think it was the third. Yeah, it was the third.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah. And Davison, he's had 22 fights. People talk shit about him because he missed weight that one time. Like he made weight for 21 of his 22 fights. It's not an issue that he usually has. And he's got more than 3 weeks to prepare now, as does Moreno. But honestly, I think this is a little too soon for them both to come back. It's only been 6 months. Like, for instance, remember when Stipe Miocic fought Daniel Cormier the first time? He fought Francis Ngannou 6 months prior, and Francis hit him a lot in that first round. Cormier hit him with the same shot in the second and third fights, a hell of a lot. Didn't even come close to hurting him. Chad Mendes, when he came back and fought Frankie Edgar 4 or 5 months after he fought Connor, they were the number 1, number 2 featherweights in the world. Like that fight should have been so much more competitive. He got starched.
And Frankie, you'll find out I'm one of the hugest Frankie fans. Frankie's not known. No, absolutely, dude. The dude's a gem as far as the UFC and his career goes.
We can
he doesn't have heavy hands, and he did. Dude, I mean, he got Chad out.
Yeah, dude. Oh, cool. Like he's knocked a couple people out, but like you just said, he's not known for it. So
no, more pace. You know what I mean? Get a decision win.
Well-rounded skill set. Baffling his opponents. That's what he did.
Oh, absolutely.
What about the feature fight between Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz, which, by the way, will also be 5 rounds?
Yeah, for one, that's really weird. It's always a little weird when Nate Diaz is involved, though. Whether it's the BMF belt or whatever, it's always a little interested nowadays since he fought Connor. But Nate, I've never been like the hugest necessarily like supporter of Nate or a hater. He's always just been Nate Diaz to me, like usually a 500 guy. You know what I mean?
That's what he is, really.
No, yeah, I think he just took, and it's prize fighting, so it really is all about right time, right opportunity, and kind of like Michael Bisping, where he took that title fight at the right time.
Yeah.
Nate Diaz took that fill-in fight at the right time, and he won it. So I think it's kind of guided the rest of his career where he's able to take long layoffs and come back and make some money, rinse, wash, and repeat. Leon is really good, but once again, I've never really been the hugest fan of Leon. He has phenomenal striking. He's extremely well-rounded. It's nothing to do with skill per se. It's just who he's chosen to fight and who he's beaten to get that number 3 rank. And now that he's going to fight Nate Diaz, if he beats him, that's going to warrant him a title shot. And I just don't see how that's deserving.
It's not sufficible. I agree. Like Leon's, it's not his fault because he's been out for 2 years. So many canceled matchups. But dude, his best win is over Vicente Luque, who is now ranked number 5. Other than that, it's an unranked Gunnar Nelson. Other than that, it's Donald Cerrone, who's a lightweight. And other than that, it's a former champion, Rafael dos Anjos, who is also a champion in a weight class below.
Yeah, no, RDA had some really great fights at
he's a great fighter, man.
But every time he lost, it was just because a welterweight took advantage of the size differential and they just start going wrestling heavy.
Yeah.
But win a fight to how you can to whatever degree it is. But yeah, no, whenever I was always so much more impressed when RDA won a fight at welterweight than when someone beat him at welterweight, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, especially when he beat Robbie Lawler, dude. That was impressive as shit.
That's actually I don't know if it still is, but for a long time, and I still believe it is, that actually goes as do you remember that combination? I believe it was the second or third round where he just lit up Robbie Lawler.
With leg
That
kicks,
was
body shots, and shots to his head. He mixed it up so beautifully.
throwing everything but the kitchen sink. That was actually the most strikes that have gone unanswered in a bout before.
Oh, wow.
Before, yeah,
Of
I
course,
believe
Robbie
it was,
Lawler took all of them. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, even RDA at 170, there's certainly a reason why 9 out of 10 fighters wanted to wrestle him. You know what I mean? He was not a guy to strike with, no matter the division.
No, it wasn't. Going back to Leon, he's like the cleanest striker in the division, the most precise striker in the division. Like, I don't think
very clean.
I don't think he's as good of a striker as, say, Wonder Boy, but honestly, I think he's a little cleaner. Like, he's so accurate. He's so well-rounded with it. But I really don't see him having an issue in this fight. But you cannot deny Nate Diaz's potency at times. I'll say that, because he does lose a lot, but he also has beat a lot of the best. He's fought nothing but since
he always
his UFC career.
Oh, absolutely. If anything, Nate loses the fights 5 out of 10 times per se that he should win. Mm-hmm. And he wins the fights that you think he should lose.
It's so weird. Like Dustin Poirier, he might have beat him. He could be a terrible matchup for him. And Charles Oliveira,
as far as pace, absolutely.
He might be a bad matchup for Charles or Tony. They've been top guys forever. It's crazy. But then, number 15 guys like Gregor Gillespie, for instance, a wicked wrestler, might be able to beat him. It's crazy.
That's true. No, yeah, he's one of the last of the old breeds where he has certain set styles, and he's an old dog that definitely is not going to be per se taught new tricks. Nate Diaz is Nate Diaz, and he'll stay that way.
Yeah, the Diazes have always fought the way. The only thing I can think of that either of them have added to their game is Nick started throwing leg kicks later on. That's about it.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, now that you mention that.
Second fight on the pay-per-view, Damian Maia versus Bilal Muhammad. Now, Muhammad fought Edwards last. They both walked into that fight 18-3. They both walked away 18-3 with a no contest. Maia said after he got TKO'd by Gilbert Burns around this time last year, maybe a little over a year ago, that his next fight would be his last. How do you see this one going down?
I mean, it's really tough. I think as far as Bilal goes, I really still believe talk about getting the just absolute shit end of the stick for his last bout. I thought he was doing okay. I'm not going to say he was winning, but it's way too early per se a fight to even say that, but it was just a nice little back and forth exchange. And then, the whole eye thing happened. It was obviously unintentional, but it still happened. And you would think that the guy that was on the end of that would get the better end of the stick. And, instead now Leon's fighting Nate, and he'll probably get a title shot off it, whereas Bilal is under him fighting Maia, where in, a lot of realities, that's still very scary. I don't care how old Damian Maia is. If he walked in there at 50 years old, his grappling is just, it's not unmatchable, but there's very few that just have those accolades.
It's unmatched for the division.
Oh, absolutely. As far as BJJ goes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he even makes wrestlers look just silly,
dude.
Ben Askren. Yes, sir. Yeah,
he fucked the shit out of John Fitch. That's what Fitch did. He had his back for literally 95% of that fight.
And crazy. Fitch at that point was taking, I'm pretty sure, some illegal substances. He
did get popped after he left the UFC, or maybe that's why he left the UFC.
Yeah, he had left the UFC actually right around USADA, but he was actually let go after a 3-fight win streak, and Dana basically summed it up because he was boring.
Still very good. He got submitted by Usman Paul Harris in his first fight out, too. I couldn't believe it. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, that was wild.
Dude, Usman, for being a dirty-ass cheater, he's a really good grappler, man. I wish he was, more ethical, so maybe he could have stayed with the UFC. I could have watched him more, because I love watching people that are good with leg locks because it's
Was
so.
he the one that was holding on to the submissions?
Yep. Yeah, he did it. When he fought Jake Shields, he was getting wrestled around the whole time, and I dodged the shit out of him to where he was able to sweep him and get a Kimura. It's like, dude, you're not going to sweep Jake Shields unless. And it was so clear, dude. His eyes were so fucked up. Like Kuzma didn't land a single punch on him.
I remember who that is now. Okay, it's all coming back to me on who he is.
He's a cheater of cheaters. It's sad. But first fight on the pay-per-view, this is a very interesting fight, and it's either going to go one of two ways. Paul Craig versus Jamal Hill. Paul Craig's getting knocked out or Jamal Hill's getting submitted. What do you think about this fight?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, it's basically one of two styles where either one's going to be subbed or one's going to be knocked out cold. But then again, you never know. You can get those sometimes surprises where the per se grappler persistent comes in heavy with the strikes. I mean, just to make him more wary of the takedown per se.
Yeah. I mean, Craig did just finish Shogun with TKO, so I mean,
oh, absolutely.
I didn't expect that. So, but Craig, he's been knocked out in a few. I think 3 of his 4 losses. Jamal has never lost for not even having 10 fights. This kid is a youth beyond his years. If we've seen one, he's so talented.
No, absolutely. I mean, how old is he?
I think he's 30, actually. He's 29 or 30. He's not young, but, like, he's done such a stellar job at playing catch-up. Like, let's see.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes that's how it works better out for some people where, they started in their later years and they end up thriving because of it. I mean, you got Yoel Romero, Daniel Cormier, Bisping really started to shine in his later half of his career.
He was like 24, 25 when he made his pro debut. Yeah. Well, and then you look at guys like Rory that are fucking pros that beat the shit out of like 3-time world champions like Carlos Condit when he's 19, 20 years old. He lost that fight. It was a shitty stoppage. And then, he's gone through too many wars too early on, and he's just not the same afterward.
I think he's a touchy subject for me because I've always loved Rory.
Me too.
But
he should have become more.
I think because as he's grown up, I remember he started talking about like some religious stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I don't really
people.
I was about to say, I don't like to delve into religious topics, but he doesn't like to hurt people anymore, and he's just in there to, as least as possible, hurt someone while also win.
Just beat them, technique them. Oh, I was gonna say that about Ian Maya too. He's like one of the guys. He's like the scariest guy in the world that will not hurt you when he fights you. I forgot to say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the worst part is you might go to sleep. I don't even think he would try to break a limb or anything.
Because you get taken down. His wrestling is so damn good now since he moved on to welterweight. That you get taken down, you're probably gonna get tapped. Sorry to interrupt you. Say that though.
No, you're fine, man. I was actually just looking up some stuff right here on the computer, so you're fine.
It's all good.
So the preliminaries.
The
Drew and Brad.
This is a good fight. We got an amateur Muay Thai champion versus a professional kickboxing champion, Drew Dober and Brad Riddell. This is going to be a good fight, man. Both these guys hit hard as shit, and they're both so good at striking.
No, yeah. I mean, that lightweight bout right there with Dober and Riddell is, you could honestly, I mean, even with the fights that are in that main, card, you could be talking about either fight of the night or even per se performance or KO of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you got Muay Thai champ versus kickboxing champ. I don't see much wrestling. I see a lot of standing and banging. And
neither of them ever do. They both throw heavy kicks and heavy punches. And they're both built like straight up Greco-Roman wrestlers too. Like their backs are so fucking wide. Dober's legs are like a whole yardstick around. Like,
for lightweights, they I mean, just in general, these little, well, I won't say little, but
they're like average,
I guess,
minute lightweight probably.
Yeah, I was about to say like lightweights nowadays, featherweights, like our featherweight champion used to weigh upwards of 240 pounds playing rugby.
Yeah, dude, that's insane. He was 220 pounds as a rugby. Yeah. And that's not a fat or a shape either. That's a fucking brick shit house, 220 pounds.
No, yeah. Even in rugby, that's not necessarily what you would consider a big rugby player, but he was massive. Even in the tough house right now, you see him up next to those middleweights, and you're like, he's really not that far off.
You know what's crazy about that? He went 4-0 as an amateur, won a middleweight title as an amateur. Then when he turned pro, he lost his 4th fight, but he won welterweight and lightweight belts as a pro, numerous ones, and then dropped down to featherweight in the UFC, won that belt. He's a
I truly
4-division
think if
champion. He's a
I think
division.
if Alexander was smart, well, not smart, but if he played his cards right, especially right now since Khabib's gone, because that would be a very tough fight. He would be smart to move up to that 155 and try to fight Charles.
Dude, he might be able to beat Charles. I'd have a hard time seeing Charles taking him down. Charles's wrestling is a lot better than anyone's ever given him credit for, but I'd have a hard time seeing him take Alex down that easily. He's so much shorter than him. And the takedowns,
it's the shorter base.
Yeah,
exactly.
The takedowns Charles uses are body locks. They're not easy to secure against shorter guys, especially that are that fucking stacked and strong that hit that hard.
No, absolutely. And I mean, if Alexander can, hang in there against 240, 60-pound boys in rugby, he can pick up 155-pounder, no problem. But Alexander to me is as good as what people keep trying to perceive Michael Chandler as to me.
Mm-hmm.
A very stout guy with a great wrestling base, great cardio, and great striking. So I think, and I'm once again, you'll find out, our mutual friend Mafuz, I'm a huge Charles fan.
Me too.
I've been a Charles fan since
me since 2010. That's when he made.
I was about to say around maybe 2011 for me. It was after like his 2nd or 3rd fight. I was like, yeah, no, this kid's very special.
Yes.
But if Alexander went up to 155 right now, he would pose a really good shot to beat Charles, and even 170. I mean, he can get the weight for it for sure. But he's small. Kamara is very.
Yeah, I don't think he wouldn't beat Kamaru, but if someone else.
No.
If Colby could beat Kamaru, him and Alex would be an interesting fight because Colby's a tiny welterweight. He might cut 5 pounds to make welter. Like he's not. He said before he doesn't cut much weight at all, and you can tell that by looking at him. But let's see the first fight on the prelims. Movsar Evloev, a master sport in Greco-Roman wrestling, versus another kickboxing champion, Hakeem Dawodu.
I've always loved Hakeem.
Me too. Hakeem just beat combat sambo champion Zuba Takagov in his last fight. It was a close fight.
Yes, sir.
I scored it for him. It was close, but I think he won. Movsar is undefeated. Hakeem has only ever lost once by submission. Movsar may be a master sport in wrestling, in Greco wrestling, but he's a striker. And he's been out-wrestled a couple times before. So I think this will be a striking fight, and it'll be really interesting to see how it goes because Hakeem, he doesn't seem the most dangerous with his striking, at least yet in MMA. He's still trying to figure out how to not get taken down while strike effectively. But Movsar seems to have the complete game. And I'm having a real hard time picking who wins this fight.
Yeah, my head says Movsar, my heart says Hakeem. I guess the best way to say it is I'll be pulling for Hakeem, but in reality, I guess I do see Movsar winning just because he was a champion. He wasn't M1.
Yeah, he's a 4-time M1 challenge bantamweight champ.
Yeah, I mean, so there's definitely some striking credentials there. Hakeem, though, he's just got this raw, natural talent to him, per se. He's got really good raw power.
He's a great athlete.
I was about to say raw athleticism. There we go. That's a good word for it. I guess if I would have to say as a betting man, I'd go Movsar. Because I bet even Hakeem will come in as a favorite because, once again, noticeable name over Movsar.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, people want Hakeem to do well. They want him to be the new face of Canada. I do too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, he deserves it. Like the kid's seriously good. Like he's like 29 or 32. He's too much time kickboxing, but he's 42-5 as an amateur, 9-0 as a pro. I'm glad he made the switch. He's very fun to watch. And we got.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. What's the next one you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, we have former title challengers as low as the early preliminary, like very early prelims, like Alexis Davis and Panny, of course.
That'll be interesting. Panny is a amateur boxer. Davis hasn't done that well as of lately because she's old now. Oh, she's
No,
not
yeah.
36. Not
I was
that.
about to say it's more or less just she just never really came into, I guess, what her actual talents could be in MMA, what we thought it could be.
I think it ended when she lost to Ronda.
Yeah, it never really panned out well afterwards.
No.
Maybe it was just she never really was supposed to be in that ring with Ronda. You never
She was
know. It
coming
was a
off
really
very
early
close.
division at the time.
Yeah, she was coming off a very close split decision win going into that fight. But honestly, I was like, dude, that's someone that can outstrike Ronda. She has great leg kicks, and she has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. I'm gonna have a hard time seeing Ronda submit her. Then she just hip tosses her and knocks her out with it. It was fucking crazy.
I was about to say,
I've never
yeah.
seen anything like that before. Like,
No,
as
yeah,
a
it made Judo
player,
look very superior at that moment for sure. We do have Eric Anders and Darren Stewart.
yep, with the
Eric
rematch.
Anders, I was about to say, Eric Anders, I think he could be much better than he is.
Yeah,
He just always goes in there trying to bull rush and trying to press forward
That's so accurate.
instead of thinking, you know what I
That's
mean?
so accurate. He uses his size and strength to just try and bully his opponents. He doesn't. I'm not trying to talk shit on him. I have a lot of respect for him.
No,
He's a cage fighter,
no.
but he doesn't have technique to what he does. Like he should be better with the best training. I agree. But I thought Stewart was going to do better than him because Stewart actually does have some technical stand up, but Anders was getting the better of that fight until he illegally kneed him, and it ended controversially.
Yeah, no, that was again, Anders just kind of shooting himself in the foot type deal because he was getting the better of the exchanges for sure. I hope Stewart's just kind of went back and watched some tape. If so, it should be his fight to win. If once again, let's hope Anders has gone back and watched his mistake, and as long as he doesn't repeat it, then as far as history goes, it's his fight to win.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I thought going into the first one. Find it to be true this one. Now, Lauren Murphy is fighting Joanne Calderwood. And this is a really interesting fight because Joanne is someone everybody expected to be challenging for the belt by now, and she hasn't. Lauren Murphy is going to turn 38 next month, and she started out her UFC career with it. She came in at 8-0. They both came in at 8-0 actually, but she came in at 8-0 and then went 2-4 through her first 6. Now at almost 38 years old, she's won 4 straight, and she's ranked at number 3. She wins this, she'll be straight. Joanne 19-2 as a pro kickboxer. I think if she wins this fight, she'll probably get a title shot too, because Valentina don't have many opponents, 2 kickboxers, pro kickboxers, and a title fight. That'd be cool. How do you see this one going?
I mean, as far as again with Lauren Murphy, it's kind of just like one of those career moments where she just kind of blossomed at the latter half of it. She is older. I do kind of think per se women have a little bit higher of a prime ceiling as far as how long they're able to perform if they'd like to. She is per se where men would be at the later half of their prime, and she's still going. It's just as strong as ever.
And as a flyweight too, she's not even a featherweight. She's not even a bigger one. It's crazy.
No, absolutely. So it's really tough. I guess I would say I would hope Calderwood would win because stylistically to face Valentina, it's the better fight, but it's one of those divisions where as of right now, it's kind of just a feed him to the wolves type thing.
Yeah.
I think just Valentina is leagues ahead. I think, I light years ahead. She's just so damn good. I don't even think she tried.
I know, right? Like
win type stuff.
She doesn't even have to, man. She's so good. She's so well-rounded too. My computer is going to die soon because I don't have it plugged in because I'm an idiot. So we have time to talk about one more. I'm just gonna say, guys, watch Bellator tonight. Douglas Lima's fight, defending his belt against 25-0 Yaroslav Almazov. Aaron Pico is fighting Aiden Lee. Paul Daly is fighting I think he's fighting Jason Jackson. He's fighting somebody tonight in the co-main event. But you want to talk Chase Hooper versus Steven Peterson or Carlos Felipe versus Jake Collier?
Oh, we got to go with Hooper, man. That little baby face boy, man.
Hooper. I was so happy he won his last fight, man, because it was not looking good for him. Actually, you know what?
No.
Maybe
he's like
my studio.
It's like if Andy Samberg tried it. I think that's his name. I hope I'm not botching that, actually. Give me a sec here. I'm hoping I'm thinking of the right actor. Yeah, it's like It's like if Andy Samberg went in there with a curlier hair and started fighting.
I know. I love how they play off the him and Ben Askren thing. By the way, I plugged my computer. We can go a little longer now.
Oh, perfect.
So,
But
he's so good, man. He got a heel hook in his last fight. Like, it's so rare to see it. And in the third round by an Imanari roll that Peter Barrett saw coming like the first 10 times he tried it. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
I love Chase Hooper, man. I really do.
I think Hooper, and I'm not saying, because I think already he's a little bit better than the person I'm going to describe him as. But do you remember John Gunther in the Tough House?
Yeah, I do. He was on the same season that he was on 27 too. Yeah.
Yep. Oh God, Gunther.
What were you gonna say?
He kind of reminds me of the same way where basically where Hooper is the same as Gunther is. They're not necessarily the most of talented skill sets built for MMA, but they just have that likability to them, and you kind of always want them to win. And sometimes they will get it done through getting their ass beat a little bit, So that's always good to watch.
That's what most of Gunther's wins come from. Like Devontae Smith, he beat Devontae Smith after almost getting knocked out by him like 20 times in a fight that nobody saw. Like they showed that on The Ultimate Fighter.
That's a man that. Yeah, no. Oh God, John.
I didn't even know that.
I used to crack jokes about him all the time, just because, like,
John Gunther.
Yeah, because I mean, it's really when you watch him, it's more of just like a guy that I don't know if he is now, but at the time was homeless, and he was just kind of sitting there getting his ass beat. Like, I'm not going back to that van, and that was kind of like his sheer will to like. I can either shear alpacas or I could try to make a real living at fighting.
Yeah, right.
And he did, man. He put some effort into it. Tyler Diamond Chin type stuff.
Right. Yeah, dude. He was so tough. The only time he ever got finished, dude, is when he got choked up by Joe Giannetti, I think.
Yeah, and Giannetti,
actually been
what happened to him? Let's see right here.
That's a good
I'm gonna be the Jamie per se of Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah, I like that.
Right Let's see here. Oh, he adopted the his nickname Skeletor. I love it. So
that fits fitting. He's skinny as shit.
So Joe didn't have the best of 2020. He fought in Cage Titans and he fought in LFA twice. So let's see. Yeah, he fought Roberto Young, and he won submission, rear naked choke, his bread and butter, of course.
Cool.
And then he's lost twice in decisions, unanimous decisions. So he's not getting finished or out there.
Probably got all still.
But it's looking like he's 9-4 right now. He does have one draw. So no fights in 2021 yet. So I mean. Hoping for the best for Joe. I love that kid.
Yeah,
that was probably one of my favorite recent seasons.
He was kind of like a really, really cool Nate Diaz. That's kind of like what I saw him as. Because
it's like Nate Diaz with a full brain.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because we got to know who he was off The Ultimate Fighter. We got to know both of them. He reminded me a lot of him. He threw a lot more kicks, but other than that, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, it's honestly, I guess perfect way is Joe Giannetti is East Coast Diaz because he's from Mass, actually.
I like that. That's very fitting.
Right. We got West Coast, East Coast.
All right, so Bellator, Douglas Lima versus Yaroslav Amazov. How do you see this one going?
I think we had recapped a little in a convo. I don't follow Bellator too much. Not necessarily a hater. I just follow interest, I guess. Mm-hmm. But Lima is a guy that, especially back in his primer years, definitely could have been a formidable, I would say lightweight. I don't know if I think he's a little small for a UFC welterweight nowadays. But as far as fighting Yaroslav, I do know who Yaroslav is. He's a great fighter, of course, 25-0. And Lima's won some fights. He's lost some fights, but he's always facing usually the best Bellator can offer him. Yeah. How do I see it going? I don't know. It's hard to go with, it's hard to go against you. Well, with the Ukraine when you're American, I guess. So let's go USA, baby. Let's go Lima. He's got that experience in there. He can go 5 rounds all day. every
yeah,
day.
for sure. We
I
haven't
mean,
seen Yaroslav go 5 rounds either. It's so hard to pick against either of them, dude. Really, it's because the only close fight Yaroslav has had was against Logan Storley, who's about as a
yeah, I
stud of
was
a
just gonna bring
wrestler as
that
you
up.
can find. Douglas Lame is not a wrestler, but he can defensively wrestle incredibly well. After the
Yeah,
first, what was it, Andre Korshkov fight and the first Rory McDonald fight, he really tightened that up. Now, Paul Daly will be in the co-main event. He said after his last fight as well that he was going to retire, but he also went on record saying recently within the last week that he keeps forgetting his age, so he's going to put off his retirement. So that's exciting. He's fighting Jason Jackson, another striker. You see him getting another knockout
yeah.
here?
I mean, I always hope the best for Paul Daly. If he retired, I wouldn't be upset just because, I mean, he's getting up there in age.
Yeah, he's 36,
If I'm
37.
looking up right now, this will be his like 63rd fight.
Yeah, saw him. He's
That's
like 43 and 17 or something. It's crazy.
yeah, that's a lot of fights to be in. That's a
Mhm.
lot of wars, a lot of losses, wins, whatever it may be. It's just a lot. So
It is. And he's
I
got
hope he comes
kickboxing
out with
fights
a
too.
win.
He's got 24
Yeah.
kickboxing fights too. 21-3 in kickboxing. It's crazy.
No, absolutely. That's not his. Yeah, that's just his. Not UFC. His mixed martial arts total.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jason Jackson's good. I've seen maybe 2 or 3 of his fights. As long as Paul keeps it nice and crisp, he should win. If he does, go out on a nice high note, and he should probably retire.
That would be his 4th straight win.
Oh, really? Is he really on that impressive of a streak right now? I
Yeah,
thought he was on 2.
Let's see, he beat Eric Silva. He almost knocked him out, but he couldn't.
Yeah.
He knocked out. Fuck. He knocked out 2 people in his last 2 fights. I can't remember their names. God damn it.
And then it's pretty hard to stop going then if you're doing it at that good of a level.
I
4
know.
in a row.
Yeah,
Hard
he
to say
knocked
no
out.
to the fights for sure.
He knocked out Syed Awad and Saba Hamasi in his last 2 fights, which Saba Hamasi has had a real career turnaround since going to Bellator. And Syed Awad has always been a dangerous knockout artist himself. So that's pretty cool. That's awesome. How about the last one we'll talk about, Bellator's feature fight between Aiden Lee and Aaron Pico.
Pico is pretty good. I've seen a few of his fights. I had mentioned he fought a friend I know himself.
Solo Hatley.
So Solo Hatley. And Pico is really good. Aiden Lee is also pretty good. I would imagine I'd imagine just a nice stand-up fight to get you ready for the main card. It's not the card, but the main fights on the card.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'd go with Pico.
Yeah.
And decision, maybe. Good old just fashion brawl that just goes to a decision with the judges in the hands of it all.
Yeah. I mean, Aaron Pico has got to be like the most highly touted prospect in MMA history before ever even making his first walk.
He's very young.
Yeah, dude. After he lost that first fight, because, dude, he's got titles in amateur boxing. He's got titles in Pankration, which is like a well-rounded martial art, kind of like Sambo. He's got titles in fucking freestyle wrestling. It's crazy. He's an Olympic team trials member. Like, it's crazy how good he is at all this shit. And he hits hard. No, in his first 5 fights, all we seen him, or actually his first 6, all we seen him do was box. He lost his first. He won his next 4 with his boxing. All he did was box Henry Corrales, got knocked out. Then in his 7th fight, which he went into 4-2, we saw something different of him. We saw him use his wrestling, but he only used his wrestling, so Boris was able to time a flying knee. Then after that, he came out, wrestled out in the first round of his next fight, and then came out and knocked him out early in the second. His next, he took Solo Hatley down and choked him out, his first submission. And then his last fight, he also wrestled and then started throwing more kicks before he knocked him out. We're seeing something new of him each time we see him fight now that he's at Jackson Wink. It's very exciting.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Jackson Wink. I mean, just there's a whole laundry list of people that have come out of that gym from
Claressa.
Yeah, as I say, Claressa last night, Condit. I mean, it's just, oh my God, so many people. Let's say Jones, Holly Holm. You can't go wrong with the gym itself. And Pico will continue to grow. He is super young, and as long as he's at a formidable gym like Jackson Wink, I only see him going up. I've always thought Pico would probably benefit a lot from like Henry Hoof per se, or someone like that. But Jackson Wing's still a good gym for him. I think he'll do well.
Yeah,
for sure.
It wouldn't have been my first pick, but it's a good gym. I agree with that. I would say if like perfect, probably ATT or
I was
maybe
just gonna
Mud Club.
say, yeah, go down to Florida for a little bit. Maybe go to ATT. You got AKA right next door as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, my phone is ringing and I can't turn it off because I'm over here. But we're gonna end it now. Thank you, Justus. I appreciate you. Hope we do it again next week.
Yeah, have a good one, man. Good talking to you.
Yes, sir. Peace out.
Bye.